All right. Well, it looks like we got the room's filling up here, Dr. Guy. So if you want to maybe start the intro for everybody, and looks like we can get going any minute now.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Most of you know who I am. My name is Dr. Guy Annunziata, and I'm the owner of DC Hours. You may also know me from Brain Core Therapy. Thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to present to you our first webinar in which we're going to be showcasing chiropractic clinics across North America. I took this on because I felt that a lot of chiropractors needed help with their marketing. So what better way than to bring to you the most successful people that we have? And so I believe that, and I've always believed that we can always learn new techniques. We can always learn new strategies and new procedures that will help our patients and also help us to generate more revenue. Now, the chiropractor that we'll be looking at today is Dr. Dan Therrien, and he practices in Winnipeg, Canada. His clinic does approximately about $1 million a year in revenue, and he's absolutely one of the most ethical and successful chiropractors that I know. He does a lot of things very, very well, but his primary expertise is offering the absolute best service for his patients, and really, isn't that what it's all about? I've known Dan for almost 10 years, and to be honest with you, I can't say enough good things about him. And I'm sure that you're going to get a lot from what he has to say today. I'm really looking forward to hearing it myself. However, before we hear from Dan, I want to introduce you to David Quon. David has been working with a lot of chiropractors and health providers. He works with all of my Brain Core Neurofeedback doctors. His marketing company is absolutely the best company I've seen at lead generation, training chiropractors and their staff. And very importantly, he also is really good at how to measure return on investment each month. He'll be giving us insight and step-by-step instructions about how we can get a lot more patients in the next 30 days. This webinar is going to be about 60 minutes with questions at the end. If you have any questions, you can ask Dan and David. At the bottom right of your screen, there's a chat box, and you could ask them questions there. So let's go ahead and get started. David, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Guy. So we have a ton of information to give to you guys today. We're going to get a lot of insights off of Dr. Dante and how he's able to scale his clinic to $1 million. There's a couple big pieces that we wanted to go through. First off, we're going to be hearing straight from Dan what's made him so successful. One nice piece that I bring to the table is I've seen so many different clinics. I know what works and what doesn't work. And I see a lot of patterns or common denominators in the top clinics. And before I pass over to Dan, I wanted to kind of tell you guys what I see at a very high level that the top 1% of chiropractic clinics do well. Number one, and we see this in Dan and everyone else's, there's a very systemized and scalable way of getting high quality leads. You're going to talk about some of the services that you do later, but it's not as easy as push a button and your phone rings, but it's very close to that. And anyone who's generating $1 million a year can't be doing a lot of the work themselves. They have other people doing that for them, and then they just see their own patients. One thing that I noticed that Dan does extremely well is he has scripts for himself and for the staff to follow. It's extremely well done, so he can bring in a new employee, insert them into his business, and they already know what to say and how to say it. And then, you're very good at kind of telling the same thing to each patient within certain parameters, so that everything is very consistent. The third thing that I notice is that there's a lot of great cross promotion. I'm not sure how many patients you actually have at your clinic, but it's a fairly high number. And what I've noticed, something that you do really well is, you'll introduce a new service and then you'll introduce it to all your new patients. So it's almost like you make a multiplier effect on your income. And I know you're going to be talking a little bit more about that in a bit. The fourth thing I noticed, Dan has a very, very good system and process for just about everything in his clinic. If you ask him about a single service, he can point at his binder and go, this is what my patients say. This is what they talk about with the patients. Here's the next steps. Like, everything is very well kind of organized. And then fifth, you do what you're best at. I noticed in your clinic, you obviously provide the best health and wellness for your patients. And at the same time, if there's something that absolutely doesn't need you to be doing it, you're not doing it. Correct. You have staff and everyone else really backing you up on those different things. So those are the things I noticed in Dan's clinic that I wanted to put forward just as a third perspective. And then we're going to get Dan to talk specifically about your own clinic in just a minute here. And as we go along, guys, if you have any questions, just put it into the chat above there. I think it's in the bottom right-hand corner for you guys, and you can just put any questions you want in there, and we'll be answering them as we go. So, Dan, can you talk just a little bit about your clinic performance, maybe the different categories here to give people a good feel of what you do and how you do it?
Absolutely. I guess to start with is the chiropractic adjustments. And that's primary, what basically gets people into my office. Mm-hmm. And that range can go from 40 to 70, depending on my focus. Yeah. And with that chiropractic adjustment, we really educate people on wellness, obviously. And we really kind of look at stress, physical, chemical, emotional stress. And then from there, we can help them recognize where some of their areas need to be worked on. We brought in BrainCore years back with help of Dr. Guy. And that's really changed our clinic in order to helping people to adapt it much better with their environment. Mm-hmm. And that generally increased my revenue tremendously and continues to increase. Mm-hmm. So, we'll talk a bit more about that later. We provide things like customized orthotics. We do Asira, which we can talk about a bit more as well, allergy elimination technique. We do laser therapy. We provide a bunch of different services, basically because we found that if we can create a very safe environment where people mm-hmm. trust us and we can do the job really well, they won't go out and maybe get a pair of orthotics made that wasn't appropriate for their feet. It wasn't designed properly, or get laser therapy at a very high price and not get the right amount that was required. So we found with this, it was an environment where people felt that they can come to for answers. Mm-hmm. And as a result, created this really interesting office.
And it's great. And one of the things I noticed from an outside perspective is you do such a good job. Like you said, the chiropractic adjustments is where they begin to like Dr. Dan. They trust Dr. Dan. They're comfortable with Dr. Dan. And then you can add in another service, and then boom, all of a sudden you have another big residual amount of revenue coming in, or another big service revenue piece.
Yeah. And what I forgot to mention there is supplementation as well. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of supplements and health coaching along with that. So that's not even added in this, and that's a large sum as well. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, we gain their trust, we have a rapport, and from there, we can add things in very organically.
Great. So what I wanted to do is that's Dan's personal experience. I kind of want to summarize for everyone on the webinar today what the journey looks like. And then we're going to get Dan's perspective on each point that he hit. Essentially, I want to really focus in on the core practitioner part here. This is when you just first start your practice, okay? That means you literally are getting your first set of patients. And then you scale your operation to doing around $100,000 a year. Now, this isn't going to be 100% true for everybody, but in general, when you're going from 0 to 100 grand in your first year or first couple years, that means you don't necessarily have a lot of business operations, systems, and processes. There's no sales and marketing experience. You're literally just opening a store, you're getting patients, and you're basically doing everything yourself and working pretty hard to get it done. When people go from a core practitioner to a chiropractic marketer, we notice in our clinics that they start to implement sales and marketing tactics that really help them gain market share. They might try, a billboard or digital marketing or something new to try and get new patients. And they're basically getting their feet wet and they're getting somewhat successful with it. They don't have it scaled yet. They don't have it processed out, but they're getting their feet wet and they're seeing what's working for them. And when we go from that $250,000 a year to about $500,000 a year, this is where we start to see a lot of profitability for our clinics. This is where we have a lot of systems and processes that really take shape and form. Like Dan was saying, everything's kind of written out. New employee comes in, they know exactly what to do. And there's clear goals and objectives that are set for the business, for the employees. And the whole business really starts working as a team and starts achieving a lot bigger numbers in terms of patient wellness and patient numbers. The last piece here where we have the 7-figure clinic, it's kind of interesting. Going from 100,000 to 250,000 is actually one of the hardest jumps you'll do. Going from 500,000 to $1 million, even though it's hard to do, you're going to hear from Dan, you actually work less as a clinic owner. You make more per patient. And the reason that happens is because you add in multiple lines of revenue, and which means your customers or your patients are paying you more. They might be taking 2 services instead of 1 from you, and they're paying you a lot more money without having to see you as much. It sounds kind of counterintuitive, but I think you're going to go into that, Dan. And that's really the magic, going from the 500,000 to the $1 million figure.
Absolutely.
That's what I've seen from a third-party perspective. And Dan, I think something that'd be really valuable for everyone is for you to kind of describe your journey, going from having no patients to 20 grand a month. Can you just take a minute or two and describe that journey?
Yeah. So
challenges, successes, things like that.
Yeah, I practiced my wife, Jackie, and when we first started, we did everything from, tombstone advertising to taking care of everything in the office and working almost like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Taking care of all the business. So, bottle washer and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And we knew that work was required, but it was like reinventing the wheel. Nobody really taught us. There was some management stuff out there, but it was a lot of work, and we didn't mind that. We knew that was required. That transition between 20,000, or 20,000 a month to growing, it became easier and easier as we start diversifying, as we start creating division of labor with ourselves and our staff. Mm-hmm. And again, we had 1 staff. We went from 2 to 3. That transition started making things easier for us and freeing our time. So working 5 full days in the office, to working 4, to working 3, to 2.5 days a week. That's the whole process. So as we started diversifying, creating systems in our office, seeing what worked and what didn't, what advertising worked and what didn't, we started to really kind of hone in on a system that would allow us to do our job much better, but with less time.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I know, just kind of adding to that, a lot of our chiropractic clinics that go from 0 to 20 grand a month, like you said, they need to do the majority of the work themselves, but then they get stuck into that mentality, think they have to do everything all the way up to 40 grand a month, 80 grand a month, which isn't absolutely possible. Generally in that 0 to 20K a month, what we find is that cash flow is pretty tight for the chiropractor. That's why they're doing a lot of the work themselves. And it sounds counterintuitive, because you're like, I'm working 10 hours a day. What more do I need to do? Well, one of the most important things you can do in this phase is really mapping out protocols, systems, and processes, and focus in on the services that you can easily repeat yourself over and over again, which would be like chiropractic adjustments.
Absolutely.
That's obviously, if you got 10 new patients a day like that, that's easy for you to handle. There's no thinking necessarily required. And trying to find a scalable and repeatable marketing process to obtain new clients, that's kind of where you start your journey, is between 0 and 20K a month. And Dr. Dan, if you can go through what it was like going from $20,000 to $40,000 a month, and what you noticed in your practice, it'd be great for them to hear that as well.
Well, the biggest thing was just basically systemizing protocols. We realized that, you can only see so many amount of clients on a per hour basis. And if you want to increase that, how are you going to do this? It's impossible. If you're seeing 100 clients a day, are you going to jump it up to 200? Well, something's got to give, right? So quality of service, so maybe your time with that client, the rapport is now being compromised. And what we found when we did that is that the retention diminished. And so it was like an inverse proportion. So the more clients we saw, the less time we can spend, the less rapport. And we knew that wasn't working for us. So we, organically went into a state of, offering supplements, because we found that was a big need. People are going out, spending $500 a month on supplements that weren't really designed for them. We could have simplified things. We started seeing laser therapy as part of our protocol. We started doing Osiris. And then we found that more and more people were getting more and more out of what we had to offer. And it felt great about the service. Hence, referrals started coming in. We can spend a little more time with our clients. And so the evolution from 20 to 40 was, do we see more volume? But at the end of the day, you're exhausted, because you can only see so many new clients a day, or clients period. And so we kind of went into the stage where we saw less and less people. What do I mean by less? We didn't, we didn't reduce our numbers. We didn't have to increase our numbers to increase our profit. And it became very fluid in our office. The retention rate increased. So it's at that point we decided that we were heading down the path of simplifying things by making it more systematic.
Great. And I want to add to that. So if I was just to summarize everything you said into one sentence, for those of you who are going from $20,000 to $40,000 a month, make sure you spend a couple hours a day or at least a week working on the business, not in the business. So what we mean by that is map out protocols, processes, so your staff can do a lot more of the work for you. Everything gets a lot more streamlined. In your case, Dr. Dan, you kind of said, Kate, we're hitting the limit of chiropractic patients we can see for NSA normal adjustments. Yeah. So what other service can we add in that doesn't take up our time, but we can still make money on? So examples, supplements. You still meet with the patient, but now they buy that extra product from you. You make extra money. Doesn't take up your time.
And you're providing your clients with outstanding service in the sense that they're feeling better.
Yeah. And I think at this point, this is kind of at that $40,000 a month. This is where you introduced BrainCore, which you're going to talk about a little bit more later. And BrainCore is kind of a little teaser for that is, for normal chiropractic adjustments, you need to see the patient once, you bill them once, but every time you see them, you need to bill them. Whereas BrainCore, you can meet with them 3 or 4 times and bill them for 20 or 30 sessions.
Correct.
So it goes back to the dollar amount that you can make per hour per seeing patient. Services like that can really kind of increase the amount of revenue you can do and the amount of help you can give out the patients per hour.
Absolutely.
Great. So let's go on to the $40,000 to $80,000 a month. What did that look like for your clinic making that big jump? Because that, to most people, that seems like the hardest.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with regards to spending time focusing on the actual practice itself. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you're seeing a high volume practice, which we were seeing, we were exhausted at the end of the day. I guess you could call it burnout. And so we couldn't put any more energy into the business. That is and that's where chiropractors are at. They hit this max and they can't put any more effort. And the effort that's needed at this point is more about thinking about what you can do about your practice. Mm-hmm. As soon as you start putting the effort in, the other aspect starts to diminish in terms of your effort, in terms of what's required to run that practice. And that's the hard transition that most chiropractors have is taking that extra step, thinking, oh my God, I can't go to the next step because it means I have to work 10 more hours a day. I don't have those 10 hours. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the opposite. It's taking a step back and actually spending and allocating and scheduling some time to look at what you can do for your practice and what's required to take it to the next level. Mm-hmm. When that happens, then you can see the next step up. And then what it actually means is you take less time in your office, working with clients, less hands-on, and it frees you to become more balanced. Mm-hmm. And when you achieve that balance, that's when you can go to the next stage. You have to achieve that balance first.
Okay, great. And Dan, I know one of the things that a lot of the chiropractors asked us to go over on this webinar is exactly those things. What can we do today to give you guys the chance to see more patients without doing as much work? What kind of systems and processes can we give you guys to help you get more patients through the door and help out more people in your community? So that's what we're going to be doing for the next couple slides. We're going to be showing you documents you can use, processes you can use, similar to what Dr. Dan's talking about, that will really help take your clinic to the next level. So, whenever you're running a big business, it was always a small business to start with. So we wanted to give off some really big high value ads here. Two of the big things, if you want to get a lot of chiropractic patients into your clinic, two different ways to do that is kind of having a good referral process in place. And we're going to go through that in a minute. And then also having a way to be able to kind of push a button, get your phone ringing, and get more leads coming in to your business. So the first thing we wanted to show you today is how to get a lot more referrals into your practice. So if you can see here on the screen, we're just going to click here and show you on DC Hours where we're putting all this content. And the content itself is extremely, extremely high value. So this piece that I'm going to right now shows you how to get a lot more referrals without having to have awkward conversations, with patients. So there's kind of 2 different ways to get referrals. Number one, you can do your adjustment, do a great job for them, make them feel good, and say, hey, Johnny, I've seen you for a couple months now. How are you feeling? Oh, you're feeling great. Great. Do you happen to know any referrals that I can call, any patients that you think I might be able to help out? And that can work, but it generally doesn't get the traction you want. Plus, it creates kind of an awkward conversation sometimes. So what we've done is we've actually mapped out the secret to getting a lot of referrals. So making a great offer, getting the right message to the right people, how to put a personalized touch on it, the different steps you need to do to train your staff, and how to actually implement it. And then we've given you the word by word script that your staff should do for when the patients come in, what they should say to them. And then on top of that, if that wasn't enough, we've also told you the different pieces that you need to do at your clinic to make sure that it's successful in terms of turning the leads into actual patients. And then on top of that, we've given you the website where you can get these cards made up, these referral cards. And we've even shown you what to put on the referral cards on the top, or the top of the card and the bottom. Now, of course, you can play with the dollar amount here. We just put the $27. You can put 45, 50, 60, whatever you think is best. But literally, if you follow these step-by-step pieces, you will have referrals coming in through your door. You won't have to have that awkward conversation. And for clinics that are already seeing 200 to 500 patients, a week, you'll be getting 30 to 45 new referrals a month off this. So it's systemizable. 2, it doesn't take up your time as the clinician. Your staff can do it for you, and you'll get a tremendous amount of value out of that. So on DC Hours, under the blog section, we have that all there for you. And once again, it's completely free. So that should definitely help out grow your practice. Second thing we want to do is show you the different ways to get a lot of high quality leads over the next 45 days. So I'm just going to go down here and kind of show you a lot of the different steps here. So the first thing you're going to need to create is what we call a funnel system. So a funnel is just a 4-step piece that will have people calling your clinic or contacting your staff to book in an appointment. So the key things here that you need is a well-targeted Facebook ad, and we're going to give all the ads to you today. You need to create a landing page. We'll tell you which landing pages to use. You'll need to create a thank you page and then a simple email and text message sequence. And we're literally going to give that all to you guys today as well. So when you're evaluating your marketing campaigns, I want you to kind of realize what's going to create a marketing campaign that works really well. Number one, it should deliver 20 to 30 leads per month to you. They should be high quality. When you do your job right as the chiropractor, as Dr. Dan was saying, you'll have a larger retention. 30% is the minimum retention you want on the leads. That means that you have a lower skill when talking to the leads. And when your skill rises in terms of talking to the leads and turning them into real patients, then you should be hitting about 70% long-term retention. And we'll show you how to do that in a minute. There should be a 300 to 700% ROI within the first 30 to 45 days, depending on the skill of your clinic. Your employees should be trained on calling the leads, texting the leads, and appointment setting. If you need help with any of that, obviously you can reach out to Gustin Quon. And then you, the clinic owner, should be trained on getting the patient pain points and creating treatment plans. I do want to spend 2 minutes right here and what I've seen the best clinics do. And it's a skill. It's a skill that Dr. Dan does extremely well. You're probably unconsciously competent at it. I've seen you do it so many times. But almost no clinics do this. And it's the reason why a lead will come into their clinic. They'll meet with the lead will get adjusted and never come back. You probably all have had that. You've wondered why that happens. So here's what not to do. So someone makes an appointment, they come in, maybe it's for a special deal, maybe it's $45, $90, whatever the amount is. They come in and they go, Dr. Dan, I have a bad back. I lifted groceries, I hurt my back. Maybe the doctor then, looks at me and goes, oh, you know what? Here's the issue. We can fix this issue. It's here in your spine. I just need to do a quick adjustment. Boom. I did the adjustment. How do you feel? Oh, I feel great. Okay, great. Well, you should come back. Here's our regular prices. I can really help you out and hope to see you again, Dave. Right? What happens? David never comes back. Okay. And so you think the marketing program may not work. So that's scenario one. Scenario two And normally I do a 1 to 2 hour training session with my clinics. Instead, we'll do the 5-minute version here today because we want to pack this full of value. You need to have a way to systematically have people see a ton of value in your clinic, a ton of value in you, and a reason to come back, not just for that first appointment, but for 10 or 20 different sessions. So here's what I train my clinics on. This is kind of like the intake form. So a patient books an appointment. The doctor meets with them for 5 or 10 minutes, builds some rapport. Maybe they like to go skiing, whatever else. They have children, everything else. You fill that out here so that they know that they have been listened to. The doctor they like the doctor and they trust the doctor. But this is where the magic happens, okay? It's really, really important to ask a lot of open-ended questions, get the patient's pain points, and then show how you're going to turn those pain points into positive solutions. So I can't go through everything today, but you might ask an open-ended question saying, you came in here because you're a bad back. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's affecting your life today? And the patient might go, you know what? I just can't pick up my groceries anymore. The wrong move at this point is to give a solution. Instead, you should just ask another question. You said you can't pick up your groceries anymore, Johnny. Is there any other ways that's affecting your life? Yeah, it makes my wife do all the work around the home, and it's really hard to live day by day. To which you should ask, how does that emotionally affect you and the family? And then your patient would go, you know what? It feels like I'm not contributing to the household. I can't help out my wife, and it's really frustrating. That one pain point, that end answer that he gave you, is the value that goes into your program. If you're able to ask those open-ended questions and get 4 to 5 pain points like that, I can guarantee you your long-term retention is going to skyrocket, because he's going to want to come back to your clinic over and over again to make sure that his wife doesn't have to do all the work, that he can enjoy playing with all of his kids, his grandchildren, that he can walk during the day, won't have to rest in a lot of pain, and maybe he won't have to take as many drugs because he's afraid of the long-term side effects or, the addictive piece of painkillers. So when you meet with a patient and you're able to go through all these different pieces and you go, how's that sound to you, Johnny? Johnny goes, wow, that's amazing. I didn't realize I'd get all this value for coming into one session. And then you can tell Johnny, you know what, if you want to pay for one individual session, it would be $150 after this. But Johnny, I suggest you come in for 10 different sessions. That way the cost goes down to $110 a session. You save $400. And the total price is only, $1,100. And that way you can contribute at home. You can pick up with your kids and play each day. You'll be able to enjoy more of your day, and you can avoid that addiction and dependency. How does that sound to you? Well, now all of a sudden this sounds like it's worth $1,100, right? Whereas before, if they just came in, you did the quick adjustment. Here's the problem with your spine. I adjusted you. How do you feel? Okay, see you later, Johnny. No one's going to come back to that. So if you need training or staff needs training on that, contact, Gustin Quon. We can help you out with that. We're going to give you this for free. Normally we charge a lot of money for this. But that's a key point to retaining long-term patients and selling treatment plans for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So back to the campaigns that can get you a lot of leads per month. And we're just going to go through these very quickly because we have them all online. You can follow them step by step. There's 4 different campaigns we want to talk about. And we're going to go through them right now. So for those of you who actually have a massage therapist at your clinic, you can use this to get a ton of leads through the door. What you do on Facebook is you target CrossFitters or people with similar interests like bodybuilding and everything else. Offer a free 15-minute massage for their WOD, which is a CrossFitter, word for workout of the day. Because you speak their language, they'll trust that you know what you're talking about. They see your massage therapist, they come in for that massage, and then as soon as they leave, you give them another offer of coming back to the clinic and getting the next massage right away. This has been extremely effective for chiropractors, especially in the States or people that have CrossFitters in the area. And as the chiropractor and massage therapist, you build the relationship from there, and then you upsell them to chiropractic services afterwards. The reason that works out so well is there's a high incidence of injury when you're into that kind of sport. The most effective targeting online is women from ages 22 to 45. That's where you'll see the lowest cost per lead for your business and the highest retention rate for your chiropractic and massage therapy business. So if you want the step-by-step, we'll have that on our blog posts later on. The second one that's been extremely effective, and this works for about 3 to 6 months, and then you have to switch the offer, is offering a 50% off your regular price. Quick little hint, don't go below $45. Otherwise, you get really short-term clients. Make sure you go through their pain points, you educate them. Otherwise, you won't have retention. Use the pain point document I gave you here. This dramatically increases your ROI in retaining the patients. And you have to build the relationship from there, upselling them to treatment plans for $500, $1,000, $2,000. That's been another highly, highly successful campaign for us. The third one is you can target pregnant women online. It sounds kind of funny, but there's a ton of them out there. Pregnant women, as well as women who are about to get married. I just got engaged myself, and my fiance wants to be pampered. And if you've ever been pregnant, and I'm sure some of you have, you definitely want to get pampered as well. You target the ages 25 to 35 because that's when they're most likely to get pregnant. Include the Facebook interests of baby products and pregnancy. Once again, build the relationship from there. Use their particular pain points, and you'll have high-paying customers with pretty sizable treatment plans. The fourth piece I want to go on to here is knee pains for seniors. This one's really great for your clinic because tons of seniors are on Facebook right now. It's actually hardly any young people are on Facebook right now. They're mostly on Instagram and other social media platforms. We won't go through all the details on here for this, but we have the link to the blog post where we step-by-step show you guys the two campaigns that can bring you in 10 to 40 new patients per month. We show you how to do it step-by-step, and I'm just going to go down here. We show you the secrets to success, how to train your team to do it, and how to target those crossfires we talked about, how to go onto Facebook and do these different steps if in case you want to do it in-house. And then, for low back pain for seniors or, knee pain or anything else, we have the step-by-step how to do it on Facebook as well. And this will be very, very profitable for you and your clinic. So make sure to take those steps, implement them into your clinic and start getting your patients. Once you implement this, it's literally as soon as the campaign goes live, you should be getting leads within 24 to 48 hours. And of course, train your staff, train yourself on how to contact the leads and bring them in. And that's how you can really scale yourself to a large amount of chiropractic adjustments, anywhere from 40 to 50K a month, similar to Dr. Dan. So we wanted to blast you with a bunch of value there. Make sure to go through that. There's a lot of detail and a lot of things to learn. We're going to move on now to the next part. A lot of you asked before the webinar, can we go into the second way that Dr. Dan is growing his clinic? So Dr. Dan, I was wondering, can you talk for 2 or 3 minutes about brain core therapy? Because most people haven't heard about neurofeedback, what it does, how it works, why it's good for chiropractors.
Well, in our office, we focus primarily on stress, identification of stress. And it comes down to physical, chemical, emotional, mental being, probably the most devastating in terms of how the body functions.
Okay.
And we weren't quite getting that for some clients who just weren't getting at that point where they're getting that emotional, mental stress out of their system. We came across Brain Core years back, and it seemed like a really good fit. So we introduced it. I started on my family and my immediate family and friends working on them with great changes. Mm-hmm. And we slowly introduced it to our office. And what Brain Core and Neurofeedback does, it changes patterns. So pattern actually begin in utero. So neurological patterns. And as we grow up through nurturing, we develop patterns, whether it's a fight or flight pattern or a calm pattern. And as we grow older, these patterns become more evident. And we see it in depression, anxiety, and other emotional and mental issues.
And that's the interesting thing, because in North America, like the depression, anxiety, and ADHD rates are just skyrocketing. So the market is just...
Absolutely. I've been in practice 25 years. And years ago, you wouldn't see anybody on Prozac or any kind of depression medication or anxiety medication when they're in their 40s maybe. But now I'm seeing 18, 17, 19-year-olds coming into our office with anxiety and depression and think it's normal, and they're on medication. So it has changed a dramatic amount. And now they're looking for answers because, as we see in the press, this is not changing. The medication is not changing. It's actually worsening the situation. So there's no real kind of a go-to. Neurofeedback is a perfect fit. We introduced it in your office with great success. And now we've moved to 3 units that we're going. I just ordered another unit that's going to be going into homes of people so that they live like 5 hours away. And so it's dramatically changed the landscape of our office. Again, I can only see 100 clients a day I feel comfortable with, and where are you going to go from there, right? This has allowed us to kind of really expand not only our revenue base, but helping people outside that realm of 100 a day. And so it's really taken our office to a whole new level, and it's not stopping. It's continuously getting to that level, and we can talk a bit more about how you allowed us to do this. But it's allowed us to help people achieve a higher quality of life. And ultimately, that's what our goal is in our office, is how can we help people become as joyful as they can be? And that's through BrainCore has allowed us to do that.
And one thing that, just tying this back to the $1 million kind of clinic thing, this goes back to what we were talking about, where you need to work harder to a certain point, and then you need to work smarter, not harder. This, what I've seen with you, Dan, is you've been able to grow the revenue base by seeing less people. So this goes to, if you want to go from 40 to 80 or 20 to 60, this is kind of where BrainCore therapy comes in, because you can meet with the patient once. Each patient's worth $2,000 to $4,000. It's a cash business. But you need to meet with them maybe 3 to 4 times, and then you can bring in a revenue of $2,000 to $4,000.
Correct.
Whereas if you're doing chiropractic adjustments, if you want to make $3,000 and each adjustment's $100, I mean, you need to meet with them 30 times.
Correct.
You can quickly see why this scales in revenue for chiropractors while doing way less work. So if you want to focus in on how you can help out the most amount of patients and really increase the profit per patient and the profit per hour that you work or don't work because you're not seeing them every time, that's what I've noticed with chiropractors across North America with BrainCore.
And it's been a key to the balance in my life. We have kids that are very active, and try to balance family and work and run a business can get pretty overwhelming at times. This has given us the ability to have more freedom of what we choose to do and help more people. Which
can you go into detail a little bit? Because a lot of people ask me, hey, what is BrainCore? I guess you kind of answered that already. And a lot of people that are on the webinar were asking me, how does that fit into my practice? Like, can you give a 5-minute, a 2-minute, because we're running out of time, a 2-minute version of the process and how that fits into your clinic?
Well, the process occurs primarily with somebody coming in with either an existing client who has, mentioned that they're experiencing a lot of anxiety, or somebody coming into our office with some sort of challenge. And what we do is a QEEG of the brain, which is a comprehensive brain map of how the brain functions in awake state with eyes open, eyes closed, and it gives us immediate feedback because it compares that brain map to over 250,000 others in the server and gives you a really good understanding of how the brain is functioning at what level. And if it's dysregulated, it'll show up with certain colors and tell us what areas are dysregulated and how it affects that person's life.
So you can you take the patient's brain, you go, okay, here you're feeling symptoms of depression. Here's your brain. Here's 250,000 brains with depression. Then here's a normal brain, so they can kind of see the difference.
Well, and here you mentioned with depression. What's nice about this, and the way I practice as well too, you may come in with back pain, but I'm not treating your back pain. I'm treating you and your entire body in order for that to maybe diminish. BrainCore is the same thing. We're not treating any disease state. We're not diagnosing. We're taking the brain for what it is. Where is it dysregulated, and what's required to get that brain back on track and neurologically set that pattern in the right place. And versus this pattern, which isn't working for you, creating a lot of distress, we're going to create the pattern that's best suited for that brain.
Gotcha.
And so without diagnosing or treating, we're changing that person's life by allowing to adapt at a much higher level than they did prior to. So neuroplasticity is the key here. Greater adaptation emotionally, mentally to life. So when life comes your way and gives you one of these, you're not going to be disconnected for 2 days, 2 hours, or 2 months. You're going to come back and with more resourcefulness, hence more joy. So the objective here is to create permanent change with neurofeedback We're not putting anything into the brain. We're causing the brain to learn new pathways that are very productive. And it's a feedback system. It's called operative conditioning. Mm-hmm. And so we're not, again, putting anything into the brain. We're having the brain relearn something in a very unique pattern, but actually a pattern that's more efficient.
Mm-hmm. And you know, with the process itself, how it works for a lot of clinics is, you know, the patient comes in, they do initial free consult with you.
Correct.
You build the rapport, you do those pain points that we were looking at before. You see if they're a good fit for the program. If they are, then you do the brain map, which is called the QEEG piece. You charge a small fee for that, a couple $100. How much do you charge? $350 for that initial QEEG. Then we have the brain map. We can compare them to everybody else. And then you do the report of findings afterwards. And then if they're a good fit for the program, then they can do the full plan at, you know, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. And then they take the cost of the brain map out of that program.
That's correct. And the nice thing with the brain map is it comes with a comprehensive report of their brain, and which is really impressive because it discusses what area of the brain is dysregulated, and being those areas, how does it affect in your life? Emotionally, mentally, it'll tell you that this alpha is out, therefore we're going to probably see a higher propensity for depression, self-mutilation, a bunch of different things like this, as well as maybe the anxiety portion. So the people leave, whether they stay with the program or not, they feel very comfortable spending $350 on a report that they can either apply towards full program or decide to say, hey, listen, I'm not ready for this, but thank you. I've got an outstanding report. I know how my brain is wired now. Mm-hmm. I know what's required, and maybe revisit it down the road. So typically the retention is pretty high once we get that QEG done.
Okay. And there's a lot of questions that we've been answering so far, but can you guys throw us some more questions that Dr. Dan can answer about his clinic, things that can help you guys out specifically, whether it's systems or processes or anything like that? Want to make sure we can answer some more questions.
I'd just like to add something here. Prior to going with your program, Dave, mm-hmm. The chiropractic portion we were heading towards was very exhausting. We tried tombstone ads. We tried, circulations, mail-outs. Mm-hmm. And I would say in the last 10 years of my practice, prior to getting introduced, I didn't do any advertising because it was almost futile. Mm-hmm. The chiropractic portion built tremendously as a result of what you had to offer. Mm-hmm. And then we introduced the brain core with the program. So it's about making things very simple. The ROI is very important to look at. Whatever you do, what's your return on investment?
And now, can I ask you a question very quickly on that? When you're doing your clinic, because we just got a new question, and what would you say is the one or two most important lessons you learned when growing your clinic, just from running your clinic, training your staff, things like that?
It was more about systems.
Okay.
What systems can you implement in your office?
And what was the most, because I'm just going off that one question they just asked, what are the most important difference between, what's the one or two systems?
Okay, the biggest system was having my staff do my work. Okay. If I didn't need to be there, I'd have my staff do it. Mm. Marketing. For me to market, I can spend, the whole thing of trying to kind of learn how to do this on my own. The learning curve, taking time away from me, doing what I need to be doing. Might not have somebody who really knows what they're doing, do the program. Scripting. Having my staff understand what needs to be said in order to really kind of impress upon the client what's required in our clinic. So between staffing, having staff do your work, diversifying, letting go, taking that step forward to managing your practice is the key. And actually taking the time to sit down and determine what's your goal, how you're going to get there, what's required to do it with less work. Mm-hmm.
That's really important too. Like when we see the clinics that are doing extremely well, it's like you said, they set a goal, they have a step-by-step of how to do it. Each clinic is different. I urge you to kind of look at your own clinic very, very closely and just ask yourself, what are you doing well that you can replicate over and over again? That should be the core of your business. And then what's another stream of revenue that you can introduce? It doesn't have to be any of the ones we showed on the clinic today or on our webinar today. We're going to be showing a lot of webinars with a lot of different clinics using a lot of different services. But ask yourself, what are you comfortable helping out with? What's the one other service you can introduce that the majority of your patient base can use and that you can really help them out with in terms of health and wellness.
And I know philosophically a lot of chiropractors, I don't want to do this. It's not chiropractic. What chiropractic is enhancing one's life to become better at whatever they do. And if there's some service you can provide and do it well, then that's just going to be an add-on for those clients and really help them along their path.
We have a question from Greg. What was your initial marketing with BrainCore after you first purchased the equipment?
I'm glad you asked that, Greg, because it was absolutely, it was a defeating marketing scheme. We were seeing maybe 2 new clients a month, if that. I tried different marketing and it just wasn't going anywhere. And it was really frustrating. I figured the program itself wasn't coming through. Then meeting Dave with what he had to offer allowed me to really help people at a much higher level. I mean, just this morning I had 3 new consults. And out of those 3, I would think all 3 will be starting up. They all scheduled for QEGs. That was unheard of. I'd be lucky to have 3 a month. So I sit back now and I have people come to me and say, you know what, where have you been for the last few years? You've changed my life. I couldn't have done this 4 years ago. Well, I've been around for over, close to 10 years now with BrainCore and other products I provide in my office, but I wasn't getting out to the public and reaching them. You've got to go out there and reach to these people. Dave's got a great program here with his group that can actually pinpoint that age group. And I would never realize they could do that and get that specific group or demographic you want in your office. And that's the key is reaching those specific demographics.
And in fact, Greg, if you're doing BrainCore right now, I'm just going to give you a little tip here. If you do want to generate your own leads and your own patients with it, like this is how we get the $3,000 to $6,000 patients. We focus in on the pain points. Let's say we're looking at ADHD. We focus in on the ADHD pain points, the frustrations of parents and children. We have to A/B test a lot of photos in the area that we start marketing and make sure that your prospects know that it's non-invasive and natural. That's because it's the moms and dads who have kids that have ADHD and they want to know that their kid's going to be okay. So it's really important you have that on the ad. And when they click on the ad, make sure it goes to an educational article or a landing page about ADHD. You need to talk about the symptoms. You need to talk about how BrainCore might alleviate symptoms. Instagram marketing is really, really good for this, and social engagement is really good as well. So make sure you do those pieces. That makes a very, very big difference. It looks like we have another question here from Randy. Question is, how do you create the campaigns landing pages? I found campaigns to be difficult to create as well as landing pages. Really good question, Randy. So step by step. If you want to start doing landing pages, there's 2 different ways to do it. You can either use a software called ConvertKit, or we created our own landing pages using another software, Webflow. So you can do those are the 2 of the best because they're, I'm going to say stupid simple. You can actually download a step-by-step guide how to do that. The toughest thing about creating the landing page is making sure that you're tracking everything on there. You need to install something called Google Tag Manager. If you're not sure how to do that, just email us after the webinar. We'll give you the link on how to do that. But you need to install CallRail and Tag Manager. We show you that in our blog post that we showed you before. And linking those things together is one of the most important things because you can't manage what you don't measure. And you need to measure the effectiveness of each ad to each landing page. And you need to do that for like 5 or 6 iterations and watch the math to see what gives you the lowest cost per lead and which patients you can onboard the easiest. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, read our blog post. If that doesn't give you enough information, just contact me personally and we can help you out from there. And thanks very much for your question, Randy.
I'd like to say, in all the years of practice, both my wife and I were very kind of open to different ideas. And looking back now is about reinventing the wheel. Mm-hmm. Taking that step from 40 or 500 to $1 million is not reinventing the wheel anymore. It's knowing who does that job the best. whether it's coaching, whether it's marketing. It just makes it so simple when you have somebody in your corner doing that type of work. And if I would have had this kind of work with Dr. Guy in terms of how to manage an office, how to script, all these different things that you think about, but you just don't put an effort to.
Yeah.
But you need somebody to kind of put the fire to your buttocks, that kind of get you going into that direction and staying on task. Because I know life gets pretty busy, and we tend to kind of say, okay, we're going to allocate this time and don't. Well, the price you got to look at is how much is that going to cost me in the future if I don't take action today? So you might forego $5,000 a month, but okay, all of a sudden a year passes by. Well, now we're talking $55,000 a month, $55,000 a year. You got to look at the long-term cost of not taking action today on something. And that's one of the biggest things I've learned. The longer I've waited, the more down the road, revenue-wise, I had to pay. And again, by not taking action, you're missing an opportunity to help your clients. If that's really your goal, is to help your clients achieve a higher state of health, hence a more healthier community. So the longer you wait, the more you try to kind of reinvent the wheel, the more time is taken away from you, your life, and your ability to help others. Right. So get the right people in your corner, and it'll make a world of a difference and help you achieve that $1 million practice. And it's very doable. I work 2, 3, maybe 2.5 days, 3 days a week. And I enjoy my life. Yeah. It's just a matter of finding that balance. But I'm here to say you don't have to work 80 hours a week. If you're doing that, you're working way too hard.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Dan. I think and Dr. Guy has also been pretty generous. He is, he's basically putting up all this content on DC Hours for free to help you guys out. Above and beyond that, Dr. Guy is also sponsoring 50% of the patient acquisition costs for the first month. It's only for the first 35 qualified chiropractic clinics. So essentially, he's paying 50% of the bill for the first month. And all you need to do is actually click on that link below that we have here. So GustinQuon.com/DC hours-webinar / And Dr. Guy, depending on what you want to accomplish for your clinic, he's going to be paying for 50% of the cost for the first month to help you get a lot more patients for your chiropractic clinic. Also, if you do want more information in a free consultation on BrainCore and how it can help out, remember BrainCore is a way to help you see more patients without you having to do the work. Each patient's about $3,000. Normally, we do an 1.5-hour consultation with clinics. The normal cost is $500. Dr. Guy will be picking up 100% of the consult fee for the first 20 clinics. Unfortunately, we can't offer it to everybody because we have almost 100 people or almost 200 people on here right now. So if you do want to, you can click on that link and apply for that. First 20 clinics will get a free consultation. It's an 1.5 hours, and we base it around your schedule. BrainCore is not right for every single clinic, but if it is right for your clinic, it brings in a significant amount of revenue for your practice. The different packages that Dr. Guy is sponsoring right now is there's a business builder package, which is great for those of you who have smaller budgets but want to go from that $20,000 to $40,000 a month jump. That includes you getting all the leads, the landing page creation, all the leads delivered via email to your clinic. I meet with you personally to make sure that your clinic is set up for success. If we do need to train any of your staff, we make sure we do that as well. And then we give you any of the materials you need to kind of be successful there. There's a lot of hard work because you do need to call your own leads, do your own appointment setting. You have to train your own staff. There's a lot of work involved, but you don't really achieve anything great in life without hard work. So that's a great way to get a lot of business. The second package we have is called the Wake Up and Succeed package. The reason we came up with this package is because we were finding with some clinics, I'd say about 50% of them, we were sending them a ton of phone calls or a ton of leads. And chiropractors are good at doing one thing, which is chiropractic adjustments. What they're usually not good at is calling back their leads, setting up appointments, and being good marketers. So this package is if you want us to drive you all the leads, and we double the amount of leads that we give you compared to the business builder package. And we actually call your leads for you. We book them into your CRM or your management software. We send you all the value training for you as the clinician to look over. David Quon, myself, personally trains you on how to do the patient pain points and treatment plans and things like that. And we literally call all your leads and make sure that everything is tracked for success. So basically, you just literally wake up in the morning and you have more patients booked into your schedule. The reason we do that package is because then it's extremely successful. The only thing you have to do is what you do best, which is meeting with the patients. We also have a third option as well. Dr. Guy asked if we could create a 1-week trial for anybody. There is no 50% discount for this option. But for $700 for 1 week, we drive you 10 high quality leads. And of course, we call them for you. We set up all the landing pages, like everything is set up for you. You just show up at your clinic and you have more patients being booked in. Now, each of these are 6-month contracts. They do have a $500 setup fee, and that covers the training, the landing pages, everything else. Once again, Dr. Guy covers 50% of the cost. So if you were to do, say, the Wake Up and Succeed package, you don't actually pay $3,000. You actually pay $1,500 in the first month. And then you don't pay the $500 setup fee. You actually pay $250. If you do the Business Builder package, you don't pay $1,700. You actually pay half of that, which, I'm not great at math, but I'm going to take a stab. It's $850 in the first month. And then you don't pay the $500 setup fee. You pay $250. After 6 months, after we've hit your lead goal, your patient acquisition goal, we've trained you and your staff to really bring on new patients and bring them on systematically. After 6 months, then there's a 12-month option for you. And that's where we truly start scaling your business from, call it 20 to 40 or 40 to 80. And we help you out with that. So whether it's coaching, lead acquisition, or anything else, we do all those pieces for you. So,
can I just add something here?
Yeah.
I think you got to be honest with yourself as a doctor and find out, how do you tick? Are you a person who dots the I's and cross every T? Then a business builder might be, if you're going to follow through with phone calls. If you're like me, a bull in a china shop, I'll go and I'll run through all this stuff and then not follow through with the phone calls.
Yeah, that's so true.
That is me. I've got a staff that they do it all for me. And it's beautiful. I just walk in my meeting, it's all done, everything's handed to me. I walk in and I get the job done. That's my specialty. So the Wake Up and Succeed, to me, is an amazing program. But you got to know how you tick. If you're a person who can do all those things, great. My wife is great at dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Yeah. That's great. But for me, I'm sorry to say, but I've accepted my faults.
And if I be candid, it's tough to get a hold of you. Yeah. So it's tough to train you on anything, but you don't need to be trained. You just want to show up and meet the patient. So
absolutely.
For you, yes, the Wake Up and Succeed is,
and the ROI on that is amazing.
Yeah,
it really is. If I did the other one, 1,700, it's better price there, but the ROI wouldn't be good because it would it would fail in my my shoes.
And we do have a lot of clinics that go, I want to call the leads myself. Always makes me a little bit uneasy. I'll still do it. But then for my marketing program to be successful, I need to train you, the clinic owner, which I'm totally fine doing. I need to train all your front end staff. And all of a sudden there's a lot of variables there, but it can be done as long as your staff is emotionally invested and financially invested in making this work and they're open to the training. Then the Business Builder, the $1,700 is good. If you just want to take the risk out of any campaign and literally just want to have patients coming in right away, the Wake Up and Succeed is the way to go. Doesn't matter to us which package you go with initially. As long as you're successful and you're treating patients well and they're doing well and you're making a healthy ROI, that's kind of the piece that makes the most sense for us. So the whole point of the webinar was, to really show you how a $1 million clinic really operates. If you have any questions for Dr. Dan, please email us. We'll compile them all. Dr. Dan will answer them.
Absolutely.
I just want to go back to everything that we talked about. We'll send you a recording of the webinar. We'll talk about Dan's pillars to success. By the way, we have blog marketing step-by-steps, how to do everything he's doing. And we also showed the journey to a 7-figure clinic with all the different steps, the things you have to watch out for. and what you can do to really help out your clinic. So if you have questions on any of these things, or you need any of these documents, you can't find the step-by-steps, how to get more referrals, let us know. We want to make sure that you guys get a ton of value out of this. And then once again, Dr. Guy is sponsoring 50% of whichever marketing program you want to do. And if you think BrainCore might or might not be a good fit for your clinic, contact us. The first consultation is free. And this isn't, even though you have the packages here in front of you, even if you don't want to get these packages, but you just want to get some help on how to run a campaign yourself, think of Gustin Quon and DC Hours as a resource to do that. Reach out to us, and we'll give you information on how you can run it yourself or how you can help out your own clinic. If you do need help from us, that's great. We just want to be a resource for you. So thanks everyone for your time. Let me know if you have any questions on anything. Dan, I'll give you all the questions from people after the webinar. I know you're pretty busy.
No, but I'm looking forward to the questions. This is great. Yeah.
And we really do appreciate your time, because I know you got to go back to a lot of those patients. So thanks everyone. And thanks to Dr. Guy for putting on the webinar. We'll be putting on another webinar soon, looking at another clinic that's been very successful and seeing what they do to get all their patients. Thanks so much, and have a great day.
Take care.